What's up, everybody? I'm Darrin with Henson,
And I'm Taurey Henson.
and you're watching and listening to the In the Groove podcast. Now, today we have a special podcast and a very important one. We're going to be dealing with credit on today's show, and we have the guru himself, the actual man who actually assists so many people in helping them make their dreams come true. We're going to say he's actually the credit specialist to the stars. Mr. James Hunt is in the studio with us today.
Wow. I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you.
It's wonderful to be here with you, James. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, I mean, I've known you for so many years, and you've talked to me for so many years about credit. And I just want to bring this up before we really get into this with you. The definition of credit is a service that a customer receives before actually having to pay for goods. That's what the definition of credit is. Mm-hmm. Listen, we know that the world is run by credit. We talked about this on the business show, and we said that many people have what we call debt cards. Debt is spelled D-E-B-T. The banks tell you it's a debit card. We said that sounds a lot like Fat Albert. Debit, right? Debit. Right? Yeah. But it's a debt card.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And so we have you here today because we want to introduce you to our listeners, clearly. And so many people write in about how to better their credit, how to get good credit, how to develop credit. So we brought the specialist, the man himself, who, again, has helped so many huge megastars, 6-figure, 7-figure, and even 2 8-figure people that I know that you literally work with, helping them maintain and build their credit. So talk to us today about what credit is in today's society and why it's important to have good credit.
Wow. Well, it's because it literally every financial door that you need to get through, you're going to be required in order to have credit in order to get through that door. And so if you cannot afford to purchase a house in full cash payment, or if you cannot afford to purchase a car cash, then you're going to have to finance it. And financing it will depend upon your credit worthiness or your credit score. And your credit score determines what your credit worthiness is.
Now, would you...
So just so everybody else understands that, can you talk to us specifically how credit impacts your financing as far as rates, payments, all of that?
Yeah, so it has a major impact on your rates. It has the higher your credit score is, the lower your interest rates are on your home. And if your scores are high enough, it could save you over the life of a 30-year mortgage. It could save you tens of thousands of dollars in interest payments on that home. So it is absolutely crucial. Same thing with the car. Your score determines 2 people can walk into a dealership and purchase the same car and at the same amount, but because they have different credit scores, they will end up paying different amounts in full by the time they finance that car off. And so the one with the lowest credit score will end up paying the most for the same car.
Which in turn, because you said with the house example that it could save tens of thousands of dollars in interest, which we all know is different from the principal payment. Mm-hmm. The interest seems to accrue a lot faster. And so if you can save tens of thousands of dollars, I mean, the same goes for a car. If you have a higher credit score and you can save thousands of dollars in interest payments on a car, then you can pay down your principal faster.
Yes. Which is why I advise to make sure that before you go into a car dealership, before you go into and sit down with a real estate agent, to purchase a home, make sure that you have done your due diligence with getting your credit scores up as high as they can possibly go, so that when you come to the table, you're coming to the table in your with your best offer that can be made to get the home or to get the car.
So, I apologize, Mr. James, with people who are hearing about this and really trying to establish credit, what are 3 to 4 ways that they can establish credit when they don't have any?
Well, let's put something in perspective first. So everybody knows they need credit.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there with bad credit. There are other people with no credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not that they have bad credit, they just don't have any credit. So we know that people with bad credit, one of the things that we've realized is they were bad in focusing. They were bad in paying attention to paying bills on time. And they were not, they didn't make themselves accessible when it came to responsibility, let's just say, right? Paying bills on time, which is responsibility, focusing on what you owe, getting that done. It could be a cell phone bill. It could be rent. It could be a car payment. It's many things. But at the end of the day, it's about you handling and taking care of what you presently owe. Mm-hmm. But what do you say for those people? Because we're going to talk about how you assist people. But what do you say to those people who have no credit? Again, not that they have bad credit, but they have no credit at all. So some people think, well, I don't have bad credit. I've always paid my bills on time, right? But they have never established a line of credit.
So basically, you are a blank sheet of paper, and if you have no credit, you're a blank sheet of paper, and if you choose to go through life and never obtain credit and pay cash for everything, then so be it. But if you ever intend on financing something, the banks are going to want to know, are going to need to know how you pay your bills. And so you have to be able to show them how you can handle revolving credit, which is your credit cards, and or how you handle installment credit, which is a loan or a mortgage payment or an auto payment. And the FICO system, 15% of your FICO score is based upon how you handle both revolving credit and installment credit. And it should be what we call a healthy mix of revolving and installment at the same time in order to get the highest credit scores.
Right. I find that people who, once they establish great credit, they normally keep it. And so it's really about getting your credit cleaned up or establishing credit, because once you realize how important credit is, you don't, and I mean, in very few instances, have you heard of any of your clients going backwards after you know, we want to hear some of those stories. Have you ever had clients that you've cleaned up their credit, established great credit for them? They were able to get the house, the car that they wanted, because normally that's usually what people desire credit for. It's either a house or a car.
Or starting a business. And yes, I could really name names, but I think that would be so unprofessional to do so.
Yes, we're not going to do that.
So you can have good credit at one point, and hardships in life and with celebrity clients, it's I'm doing good. I got a movie out. I'm doing this. I got this going on. And then all of a sudden, the jobs are not coming in. For my NBA players or the NFL players, it's I'm doing good. I'm signed to a team. I got a contract. And then all of a sudden, I don't get signed.
And you deal with everybody. I mean, you have sports figures. Yes. You have actors. You have politicians that you work with. I mean, you have just from every walk of life that at least I know of. I mean, it's a very diverse and African-American, Caucasian, Latino, Indian. You have a plethora of people that you work with. Do you find there's a diversity in thought patterns that's the difference? What do you find the difference is between the culture of people that I just mentioned in terms of credit?
Well, as it relates to us, African Americans, we were not taught, I was not taught by my parents about credit. And so you come to the table kind of late when it comes to your credit. And most of us learn about credit only after we have destroyed it. And as opposed to some other races who have been taught growing up, and so they never experience that. And then they go crazy when they do lose the scores. But so it's different because of exposures. But I will say that a lot of my celebrity clients and regular clients, once you clean up the credit and you educate them, and I think that's absolutely important.
Credit literacy, we talked about that.
But educating them, because if you just simply clean it up and you don't educate them,
got to teach them how to fish.
yeah, or they will be back in the same situation 6 months later. And I had some crazy rapper from Love and Hip Hop, Miami, who made a joke. Let's say it was a joke. Yeah, I think it is a joke because he actually cleaned up his credit and kept it clean. He's been clean for several years now, and I'm really proud of him. But his thing was, oh, why do I need to pay? I'm just you're gonna clean up my credit, and then I'm gonna buy a car, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna get all of this, I'm gonna get all these credit cards, and then I'm gonna mess it all off, and I'll come back to you in 6 months later.
Wow.
And he said it actually loud, and he did it in a promo. But that's kind of like his personality. But he was joking, and it didn't sound like a joke at the time, but he was joking. And since then, he has maintained his scores are in the upper 700s, near 800s, and he has maintained it for years.
It's so important. I mean, look, I'll be 100% honest, right? And you know, on this show, In the Groove, we say it's a podcast with a twist. And the twist is transparency. When I first met you many, many moons ago, I was one of those people who paid for everything in cash, right? Buying the house in cash, buying the cars in cash. And I was like, what do I need credit for? And I realized that the world was actually moving towards a credit-based system before I even realized that it was so important to have and maintain credit, more so now than 15 years ago. And you told me this 15 years ago. And so I'm a witness of how important it is and why we need to clean it up sooner than later, because it's getting even deeper. The trajectory of what credit can do and what it will stop you from doing if you have bad credit.
Yes. And so now that you know, and I think that that's the reason. I mean, I had a recent NBA player who lost everything. He got cut from one team, and he was in between contracts, and it was off for about a year and a half before another team picked him up, and he lost everything. He had 7 repossessions and 30, close to 40 negative accounts. Scores dropped into the 300s. But in that process of educating him about the value of it, and him during that time frame not being able to even get a car, finance a car, after having all of these cars, it made him appreciate credit better. And when he did get signed with the Lakers, he treated his credit with great value, because he understood what it was to have it, and he had a greater appreciation of his credit, and he got his credit scores up into, like, I think his high score was an 805.
Wow.
So he was ecstatic, and he maintained it.
So is maintaining good credit just about paying bills on time, or is there more to it?
It is about paying your bills on time, but it is also coming to the table with a strategy. And I think that is important, to have a strategy for building your credit and keeping your credit up. Because if you just simply pay everything and you pay everything on time, you can get to the point where you have paid off everything, and you're no longer, because everything is paid off, you're no longer increasing your score because there are no more payments to be made, and you're not getting those hits to your score every time that you make a payment on a monthly basis. So you have to understand that there is a value in keeping opened accounts, and the gradual paying with a strategy of consistently building my scores. And so that process never ends. So it's a continual
So it
process.
seems like it's a perpetual labyrinth that says keep the ball rolling. And as long as the ball is in play and you're consistent with keeping the ball in play, right, in good standing, then credit can raise. So would you say it's a bit of a strategy on the side of the creditors or the credit system to basically say to the citizens who need the credit, that you play with us and you play this way, and this is a society now that's built on playing this kind of game, which is a never-ending game. Would you say that?
So yes, but
because American Express, you have a 30-day, right? You have to pay it flat, full fee in 30 days, right? And I think now they may have some system where
they do the thing with the interest.
Yeah, it's called Blue or something like that. But they're making interest off of those payments.
Yeah.
But like, I've had an American Express card now for 25 years and I pay it off every month. But that doesn't build up your credit.
So if you're paying it off, with American Express, if you pay it and you pay it on time every month. So American Express doesn't carry a revolving balance.
Correct.
So you want to get, the certain American Express cards don't carry a revolving balance. If you get the American Express Everyday card, it carries a revolving balance. And so American Express has several cards that you can have. And once you get one American Express, it's
very
to get
easy.
all of them,
Of course.
personal and business. And so understanding a strategy and having a strategy attached to the way that you're building your credit will help you to keep your credit scores up. You know which credit cards that are helping you to build your credit, and you know which ones are not. And so the emphasis always has to be on what am I doing in order to consistently build my credit scores.
Right now, we're talking to the man himself, Mr. James Hunt. Who is James Hunt? And we're answering that question for you in the In the Groove podcast studio today.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple credit myths.
Okay.
Some stuff, because it's a subject of great interest to me. So I was learning stuff before I met you, so that's why I'm so fascinated by the work that you do. A lot of these sites, Credit Karma, all of them that are able to pull your credit report, they have this new system where you can go in and dispute inconsistencies that you find. I read that if you dispute it online, you lose your right to actually dispute it beyond what decision they give you online. So they could say, well, it's still a current account. We checked it. So my question is, what is a better way if people find inconsistencies in their credit to reach out to correct these inconsistencies? By mail, online, a specialist?
So I would say disputing it online is a generic way to dispute your credit. While yes, because they allow you to check boxes as opposed to making an argument. So they give you a little list of boxes to check regarding why you're disputing them, as opposed to having someone to prepare a whole legal document with FTC complaints and affidavits and everything else that will carry all of the weight that you need in order to get something off of your credit report. So,
in other words, hire James Hunt to do the work. Don't try to do it yourself. So many people get caught up trying to do this work themselves, and they're not professionals. They don't really understand the black and white of it all. They're checking boxes, checking the wrong boxes, and never resulting in getting what they need to do done. This is why you have to do your due diligence and hire the experts. And in this particular case, when it comes to credit, I promise you, Mr. James Hunt is the man to call on. And so we wanted to talk to you about that, because so many people, even our friends that we have, we talk to them about getting their credit. They're like, oh, I'll do it later. And then next thing you know, somebody wants to buy, a car for their wife, and their credit is down the hole and they can't do the things that they want. It's stopped them from doing it. One of the things that we talk about is not procrastinating. We talk about eating the frog. If anybody wants to know what eating the frog is, eating the frog means doing the most difficult thing first, because everything else is easy after that, right?
Right. So I never heard the term eating the frog.
It's called eating the frog. Look it up.
Okay. Frog legs.
Not the whole frog.
Not the whole frog. But all right. So yes. So you attack what the issues are, and I definitely agree with you. What is the saying that he who has himself as a client has a fool for a client? So right. That's with for a lawyer, he who has himself for a lawyer. So my advice is that if and your credit certainly is serious enough, then you do not want to run the risk of making the wrong argument. And you can make the wrong argument yourself, and then have someone come behind it. And that is what I do on a regular basis. So clients will call us, and they call me when their back is against the wall. So no one wants to deal
Don't point at me when you said that.
No, I'm just saying.
But my back was against the wall when I came to you.
But
I have to be honest.
I wasn't thinking of you.
I have to be honest. I have to be honest.
Clients come when their back is up against the wall, as opposed to just simply saying that I need to do this due diligence, and this is a part of credit. That's what I've been saying lately, is that credit and credit repair is about self-care.
Yes.
It is a form of self-care, because it requires my attention to maintenance and the upgrading of it, and consistently upgrading, so that I maintain what it is,
and the awareness of what you have to do next to keep it going.
Yes, and anybody should be able to ask you at any point in time on any situation, what is your credit score? And you should be able to cite it. Just like this, because you are aware of what your status is right now. So I'm not walking into the dealership not knowing and at the mercy of a finance manager who will come out and tell me you're approved or denied. I already know going in that I'm approved. I've already did an application online, and I'm already pre-approved. I know what I qualify for. I'm just here to sit down with you and sign the paperwork.
You're empowered. You're empowered. You're walking in with knowledge, information, and wisdom of what you're doing. There's a saying, James, and it reminds me of you so much. It says, never repeat your mistakes. Mm-hmm. Work with someone who is smarter than you. Listen. And once you learn, move with confidence. Okay. And to me, you embody that, right? When you say, learn never to repeat your mistakes, because if you're repeating your mistakes, it means you haven't learned anything. Right. not hiring somebody who's smarter than you puts you in a position of compromise always. Because if you work with someone who's smarter than you, you can learn. And when you're in a position to learn, you must listen. And when you listen and you learn, you can be activated. Then you can walk with complete and total confidence.
Yes.
And I promise you, I have seen the people who are clients of yours, they move different now because they have learned from you. They have sat with you. They talked with you. And they have gotten information that they can apply in their lives. And as long as they maintain the information that you've given them, which changes the quality of their lives, right? It does. It really changes the quality of your life when a person listens to what you have to say.
Yes, and I think it's the highest form of accomplishment for me to be able to see that someone who had no knowledge of credit, no value of credit, you actually go in, challenge the issues, clean up the mess that they made of their credit, and then they maintain it. And to see the knowledge of it, just like we'll talk about, I'll throw one celebrity out, Flocka. So Flocka came to me like in the middle of the night. One night, I've been on him to give me his credit report forever. And then he finally comes and he brings me his credit report.
Shout out to Waka Flocka.
Yes, absolutely. And to see him all over social media now talking about financing and talking about the value of the credit and everything else, I am so proud of him. Yeah. I am just literally proud of him because he didn't know. He didn't know at the time, and that he took what information that was given to him, and then he took it for himself, and then he saw the responsibility to teach others.
Teach one, we can reach
absolutely.
One. I got it in there before Darrin today.
Yeah, no, it's really true. It's about becoming a student and utilizing the information for yourself and then giving it off to someone else. Because it's not just for us, right?
Right.
It's not for us. It's for us to use, live with, enjoy life with, and then hand it off to someone else so they can do the same. Mm-hmm. And so we really honor you with, the system of energy that you create around you, because people who are around you, not only do they have great credit, but they become financially abundant as well, because they grow into, as Taurey said, a new financial literacy, which is self-care.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful way to put it, because I think that we put self-care into so many different categories, but not that one.
Mm-hmm. We always make it physical.
We always make it physical and about pampering. And I think that you put it into perspective, even with me saying that that's self-care, because it truly is. It's the ultimate form of being able to not only establish yourself, but to maintain that, because you need credit now.
Absolutely.
So for people who need to know they don't have credit, or maybe they have bad credit, how are some simple ways people can establish credit?
So if you have no credit at all, my advice is that you can easily go the secure credit way. And secure credit means that the banks will allow you to use your own money to put up. If you don't have a credit card, then you can secure that a credit card with Bank of America, with Wells Fargo, with Chase. And
that the one where you put down like
free
$500, mm-hmm. and then you can use the balance on the card.
And your deposit becomes a part of a certificate of deposit account, and your deposit is your limit. But if you maintain on-time payments for about 6 months, then they will then give you your deposit back after 6 months, and that card will then convert to an unsecured credit card, and they usually will double the limit of whatever your original deposit was. And that allows you to begin to build it. However, that is the slow process. The strategy attached to something like that is to the person who has one, and they gradually build it, they will gradually build their score, and they will do it the other way. And I mean, they will just do it the normal way. A strategy means that I now take deposits for 5 secured credit cards at 5 different banks, and I do it the exact same way. And the person who has invested in 5 secured credit cards will build their credit 5 times faster than the person who builds it with one.
Because it's truly an investment at that point.
Yes, and because they're getting, instead of one credit card reporting to the 3 credit reporting
5
agencies monthly, and they're getting about 3 to 5 points per on-time payment a month, this person gets 3 to 5 points a month, but this person is getting about 15 to 25 points added per month. And so there always has to be a strategy attached to the way you build your credit.
That's beautiful. And this is exactly what we were talking about. This is why we wanted to have you here on the show. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
I'll be here.
on how can they find you on Instagram?
So Instagram at Who is James Hunt.
Who is James Hunt on Instagram? And I know people DM you all the time, and you work with them. You respond to all of your DMs.
I do.
So
or somebody in the office will.
There you go. Who is James Hunt on Instagram? Get your credit right. Again, if you have no credit, you need credit. If you have bad credit, you need to clean your credit up. Call the credit specialist to the stars, Mr. James Hunt. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today. We had a great time.
Thank you for dragging me in here.
Not kicking and screaming,
no,
but still dragged.
He's always out dressing me. So
we love you so much.
But
Thank
look, I'm rocking
James.
a t-shirt too, Mr. James.
There you go.
So glad to have you on the show. I'm sorry, Henson.
And I'm Darrin DeWitt Henson, and you've been grooved.